Great Lakes Storm of 1913, historically recorded as the White Hurricane. This storm was the deadliest and most destructive natural disaster to hit the Great Lakes in recorded history. This storm killed over 250 people. In total, 12 ships were sunk, while 7 others were damaged. About $1 million of cargo, including coal, iron ore, and grain, was lost as well in the storm. The 1913 storm impacted many cities, including Duluth, Minnesota, Chicago, Illinois, and Cleveland, Ohio, each receiving roughly 22 inches of snow combined with winds up to 79 miles an hour. The winter hurricane originated when 2 major storm fronts that were fueled by the lake's relatively warm waters, a seasonal process called a November gale, converged. It produced wind gusts of over 90 miles an hour, and there were waves that were estimated to be 35 feet high, with whiteout snow squalls. These winds exceeding hurricane force occurred over the 4 Great Lakes for extended periods of time, creating extremely large waves. This white hurricane blizzard devastated the Great Lakes Basin of the Midwestern United States and the southwestern Ontario, Canada from November 7 to November 10, 1913. And the storm was the most powerful on November 9th, battering, overturning, sinking, and destroying ships all over the Great Lakes, particularly in Lake Huron. The Isaac M. Scott was built in 1909 at the American Shipbuilding Company shipyard in Lorain, Ohio, United States, and she was launched on June 12, 1909. She served from July 12, 1909 until her fateful sinking on November 11, 1913. The ship was 504 feet long with a beam of 16.5 meters and a draft of 9.1 meters. The ship was assessed at 6,372 gross registered tons, and she had a triple expansion steam engine, driving a single screw propeller. She had a crew of 28. As stated before previously in my other video on the John B. Cowell, the Isaac M. Scott collided with the John B. Cowell on her maiden voyage, nearly cutting it in half, and the John B. Cowell sank within a few minutes afterwards, taking 14 of her 24-man crew to the bottom. In the early dawn hours of November 9th, 1913, the Isaac M. Scott was loaded with a cargo of coal valued over $22,000, and she was bound for Milwaukee, Wisconsin, United States. She left Port Huron at Cleveland, Ohio, for the last time. The Isaac M. Scott was one of several big lake freighters that passed through the St. Clair River into Lake Huron and straight into the deadliest storm recorded in Great Lakes history. The Isaac M. Scott's captain, Captain A. MacArthur, had been a master of the Isaac M. Scott since her maiden voyage back in 1909, and he sailed with 27 other men on the Isaac M. Scott's final voyage. On November 9th, 1913, at around 10:30 a.m., H.B. Hawgood was running before the storm when they spotted the Isaac M. Scott just off of Tawas Point, Michigan, just hours before the brunt of the storm began. After the storm had passed and communication was finally restored and newspapers began flowing again, accounts of the Isaac M. Scott only had it listed as missing. The body of Captain MacArthur washed up at Southampton, Ontario, Canada on December 11th, 1913, still wearing his life preserver. Another part of the Isaac M. Scott was found, one of her lifeboats, which was floating and found 23 miles north of the Chancery Islands Lighthouse, off of Southampton, Ontario. The Isaac M. Scott did sink, with all 28 of her crew members perishing to the bottom in the Isaac M. Scott. The Isaac M. Scott remained missing for over 63 years. Then, in 1976, divers located it about 6 miles off of North Point, Michigan. The Isaac M. Scott rests upside down and is half buried in mud in 55 meters or 180 feet of water, with her nose still pointed into the storm. The wreck of the Isaac M. Scott contains evidence that it was likely swamped and swallowed by a huge rogue wave, resulting in the ship rolling over and sinking almost instantaneously. The SS Henry B. Smith was another steel-hulled lake freighter built in 1906 by the American Shipbuilding Company of Lorain, Ohio. The steamship was owned by the Acme Transit Company of Lorain, Ohio, under the management of William A. Haugen. She was a bulk freighter with a gross tonnage of 6,631 tons, a length of 545 feet, a beam of 55 feet, a height of 31 feet. She had a triple expansion steam engine for propulsion, and she had a crew of 25. The Henry B. Smith arrived at Marquette, Michigan on November 6th to take on some iron ore for her cargo. Over the next 2 days, a southwest gale swept over Lake Superior, dropping the temperature to 24 degrees Fahrenheit. This cold weather caused the ore to freeze inside the hopper cars, requiring the men to knock the material loose by hand. This resulted in a loading delay for the Smith. Captain James Owen had been plagued by misfortunes all year that had resulted in the Smith being delayed or late for its designations. And then rumors abound, then and now, that the owners of the boat made it clear to Owen he had better make this last trip on time, or else. At around 5 p.m. on November 9th, the Henry B. Smith was loaded with its final car of iron ore, and immediately afterwards, the Smith backed away from the loading dock and proceeded out onto the lake. The crew of the Smith was apparently hoping to take advantage of a brief lull in the storm. However, fierce winds picked up almost as soon as the ship left Marquette, and observers from the shore saw deckhands attempting to close the ship's 32 hatches, a process which normally took hours. After 20 minutes or so, the full force of the winter storm gale hit. Witnesses saw the Henry B. Smith turn to port, possibly seeking shelter behind Keweenaw Point. But, however, the ship was lost from view after a short while. Debris then from the ship was found 2 days later along the beaches of Chocolate Bay, Shot Point, and Laughing Fish Point. There were only ever 2 bodies ever recovered from the Henry B. Smith. Second cook H.R. Haskin was found floating 50 miles west of Whitefish Point a few days after its sinking. And then, third engineer John Gallagher's skeleton was found on Isle Paracini, or Paracine. Forgive me if I'm spelling that wrong. I do try my best on these videos. But, either way, I'm trying my best to pronounce these. In the spring of 1914. There was also a note in a bottle recovered, allegedly from the Henry B. Smith, a crew member. In it, the author claimed that the ship had broken in two 12 miles east of Marquette. After a very, very long debate, the boat's owners decided that the note was a phony. It was dated November 12th, while the Smith sank either on the 9th or in the early morning hours of November 10th. The wreck of the Henry B. Smith was finally located in May of 2013 by shipwreck hunters. The ship lies in 535 feet of water off of Marquette, Michigan. The SS Hydrus was launched in 1903. Again, she was a bulk freighter with a gross registered tonnage of 4,713 tons. She had a length of 436 feet, a beam of 50 feet, a height of 28 feet, and a triple expansion steam engine. And she had a crew of 27. The SS Hydrus was an American steel-hulled Great Lakes freighter constructed in 1903. During the Great Storm of 1913, she was following the SS James Carruthers, heading south on Lake Huron while carrying a load of iron ore. The SS Hydrus foundered and sank with a crew of 24 aboard on or around November 8th of 1913. This was while she was heading from the St. Clair River during the storm. The waves were said to be 35 feet high, along with a wind of 90 miles an hour. 5 of the Hydrus's crew were found frozen to death in a lifeboat that had washed ashore in Canada. The James Carruthers was also lost in the storm, as well as the SS Argus, which was the sister ship of the Hydrus. The wreck of the SS Hydrus was located in summer of 2015 by a team of shipwreck hunters led by David Trotter. The wreck is in over 160 feet of water and is heavily encrusted with zebra mussels. The ship is upright and intact, though the hull has been damaged and the bow is twisted at a 45-degree angle from the rest of the ship. The ship still contains its cargo of iron ore, and the pilot house is also intact, complete with the ship's wheel and engine room and telegraph. The final ship on our list is the SS Wexford, a steel-hulled, propeller-driven cargo ship, built by William Doxford and Sons at Sunderland, Great Britain, in 1883. The ship was lost on Lake Huron with all hands on November 9th, 1913, again during the greatest storm recorded in Great Lakes history. Her cargo at the time was a loss of 96,000 bushels of wheat. The SS Wexford weighed a gross registered tonnage of 2,077 tons, a length of 250 feet, a beam of 40 feet, a draught of 17 feet, and her crew was somewhere between 17 to 24 men. The wreck of the SS Wexford was discovered on August 25, 2000, still sitting intact and upright in 75 feet of water on the bottom of Lake Huron. A copper wreath was placed on the wreck to honor the crew of the 100th anniversary. The actual number is uncertain, though, of the Wexford's crew being lost. Again, it was 17 to 24 victims that were reported to have died on the ship and gone down, along with the bodies that washed ashore. Truly, this storm will forever be in infamy as one of the worst storms recorded on Great Lakes history so far. Let us hope that we never have to go through something like that again. And, this is the story of these ships. It is not all of them that went down during the storm, but it is just a small few that I think have never been mentioned, or at least are not greatly known throughout the Great Lakes history. Thank you again for joining me today on Songs of the Great Lakes, and I do look forward to our next video coming in the future here. Have a good rest of your day, and God bless you.